Hello and welcome to this podcast edition of Sam's Alternatives with me, Sam. Episode 17, I will be chatting to Ez from Bendigo Metal band Spacegoat, who also does, of course, Heretic Frequency on, of course, Phoenix FM 106.7 in Bendigo as well. Ez is also putting together, or has put together, ticked off next weekend in Bendigo with a killer lineup. I'll mention it in gigs in a moment. Just before we get into the chat, there's a lot that's happened over the last 2 to 3 weeks. Let's go through some of the singles albums that have been released. Ghostseeker Divergence dropped yesterday. Zuko dropped Stand for Nothing yesterday. Voyager dropped their new song, Seeing Better Days. Of course, Echoes in Eternity dropped their new single as well, Desolation. Void Matter, Brooklyn Comic, I Choose Violence have all dropped new music, which is awesome. It's great to see. Interviews coming up, of course, Sunday, May 4, Dan McDougall from the band, or the podcast, should I say, Volume Dealer. And then Friday the 16th of May, it's Terry Truern. And also Saturday, May 24, Melbourne metal band Lean In. At this moment, it's Lucas, possibly Callum and more members of the band. Got a few gigs coming up. So Friday, the 2nd of May, of course, is Ticked Off Abduction with, of course, Alienist, Where the Devil, OCD Band, and The City. Ez is ready to join. I'll let Ez in, and we'll start this interview. Hello, Ez.
Hello. Oh, I'm sorry. I took a bit of jigging around to get on the call.
Oh, no, that's all right. I've realised I'd forgotten something when I'd started the other recording, that I accidentally sent it to iCloud and not to my computer files. I'm like, oh crap, I'm not going to know where it is.
There's always something, isn't there? Don't worry. My mic stand decided it was going to die on me, and now I've got it set up in this weird way that it's just kind of caged me in, but it's all right. It's working, and that's all that matters.
Oh, you're clear as day on my end, Ez. I can hear you perfectly.
Yay, that's good.
And your visual's way better than mine, because I look like I've been punched in the face, literally.
I'm not going to lie, you've got a little bit of the boomer angle going on at the minute, Sam.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm more worried about how I sound than my facial expressions.
Absolutely.
It's awesome to catch up, Ez. For those that don't know, Ez does so much for the scene. I mean, does Heretic Frequency, a radio show on Bendigo, and also is the vocalist of Spacegoat, might I add, as well.
Which, yeah, that's been going on a little longer than the Heretic Frequency stuff. But yeah, I've got my fingers in a few pies these days.
And of course, for those that don't know, Ticked Off next Saturday in Bendigo. And I love the fact you're wearing Orpheus Omega, who are the headliner for Ticked Off.
I know this stuck behind my mic stand, but yes, I know I had a few t-shirts from the bands that are on the bill, and I was like, ooh, which one will I dig up? But this was the first one that came out, so it just was meant to be.
And Sam's not wearing anyone that's associated with, but Spacegoat have played with this band that I'm wearing in Total Buzzkill, because they played Arkfest together, but...
Oh, mate. Total Buzzkill are the best.
Yeah, lovely guys too. And Archangel, I mean, wow. Shit. I mean, one of the best bands I've seen this year, both of them.
Yes. Haven't Archangel just exploded onto the scene, just to use a really overused catch cry, but yeah.
And I mean, both really regional Australia bands, because Archangel are from Albury and Total Buzzkill, even though they're classed as Brisbane metal, they're actually from Lismore.
Yes. Yeah, I know it's interesting. I see it happen a bit more up that way too, where a band will be like blanketed under Sydney, but then you find out they're actually sort of a little bit of a ways out. Whereas, I don't know, is it because Victoria's a bit smaller? We just don't do that here. We don't claim to be from Melbourne if we're not from Melbourne, or we're just like, we don't give a shit, and we're just like, yeah, we're city kids. Sorry, not city kids, country kids. We don't care. We don't care. We just muck around, you know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about that one, Ez, about the, regional Melbourne, or the fact that Lismore is a fair way into New South Wales. It almost is closer to Brisbane than it is Sydney, obviously, but I don't know. But, like, I've heard people say some of these bands are like, oh, these must be Melbourne bands. I'm like, Ironstone is not from Melbourne. Nicolas Cage Fodder is not from Melbourne. Common
Mm.
Evil are not from Melbourne. It's just they put it in their profile because it'd probably get them more gigs.
Pretty much. I think that it's just a tactic that, we all have to. And I think, like, because you gave me my list of questions before the interview, like, this is a topic I kind of want to get onto a little bit, but it's a ways down the line, so I won't like jump the gun on you. I'll let it flow out naturally. But yeah, there's lots of things I can say about the way that bands are made to feel like they have to do things a certain way these days, in order to get their name out there. There's all these tactics, and it's such a game to play. I mean, I guess the music industry has always been a bit of a game. But yeah, geez, the game changes fast these days.
It does. And if you don't put in the hard work, some bands, I'm not going to name drop, that's defamation. I know all about that. Not that I've been in trouble for defamation, but I've heard other people get into trouble for it.
It's not hard to do.
I think there's some bands out there that expect it will just drop in their lap and everything will just come their way if they just sit back and do nothing. And I think if you've got that look on things won't start happening.
I was about to say I don't know any of those bands because I don't think they got anywhere. They haven't crossed my radar. But yeah, I get what you're saying. There are some that I think there will always be people in any industry, and especially in artistic endeavors, that there will always be those people that have a sense of entitlement and think that they just have earned a place without the hard yards. And yeah, it's just not the case.
No. And like, there's perfect examples here in Victoria and around Australia. I was talking to someone at work last night that actually knows Kira from Future Static, and the person was saying, "How big have they become?" I'm like, "You're not kidding. They've become one of, if not the biggest bands in Melbourne right at the moment. I guess Alpha Wolf and Thornhill probably just a little bit ahead of Future Static, but they are definitely getting up there."
Oh, 100%. It's weird because there's like tiers as well of, sort of making it, I think. But I had this conversation only a week ago with Chris from Office Omega, because we were sort of chatting about, like, what is making it anyway? Like, if you can tick off, that you've played with bands that you love, or that you've traveled, or that you've done this, you've done that, not all of that necessarily equates to worldwide record sales or stadium tours or whatever, but it's still success in its own right. And yeah, I guess chipping away at those little goals is just as important as, the big shot, the big time, Yeah.
And I mean, there's a band out of Melbourne at the moment, and I was having this conversation with someone a couple of weeks ago, and it's like their first two shows, or two of their first three shows, have been with Alpha Wolf and Thornhill. And you think, if you're wanting to make yourself a big name and get your name out there, those are probably the two biggest bands right at the moment, outside of maybe Red Hook and maybe North Lane, to sort of get your name well known.
Yeah, definitely. I think jumping on shows with bigger known acts is certainly a very, very good way to have your name out there. And I think also just playing a lot of gigs. I mean, Archangel are a really good example of that. Those guys have come out of the gate like Bolton, and they're not really saying no to anything. And I've been told in the past that can be detrimental to a band, to be just saying yes to all the gigs. But by all accounts, I've gotten to know those guys a little bit, and one, they're having the absolute time of their life. So shut up anyone that says that they shouldn't be playing as many shows as they are, because they're having an absolute ball. And to me, like, isn't that the goal? Like, to have fun and enjoy yourself? That's certainly why I do music. So good on them for being able to play heaps and heaps of shows. And, that repetition, it gets your name out there, and people go, oh, them again. Geez, they keep popping up. I must check them out. So, which is why on my radio show, I like to give bands repeat plays. I won't just be like, oh, yep, that single came out this week, and I'll play it on my show that week. I will make sure that I play that new single at least 3 weeks in a row, just because that repetition. I know when, I've listened to, I don't listen to mainstream radio or anything that much anymore, but back in the day, we used to have the Jays on or whatever. How would you get to know a band? It would be because of the repeat plays, right?
Mm.
So, repeat plays and jumping on lineups is, yeah, I think that's one of the best, and I don't know, maybe not necessarily easiest ways to get your name out there, but nothing about doing music is easy. So there's no easy. We'll just cut that straight out. There's no easy.
Nah. But like, yeah, I've seen your lineups. I listen back. Sometimes I listen in, but 9 times out of 10, I've got something happening Tuesday night, like an interview, and it's like, oh yeah, crap. Heretic Frequencies were on when the interview's on. I'm like,
Yes.
bummer.
Well, the best thing that ever happened was Phoenix FM, who is the station that that allows me the platform to do Heretic Frequency. Yay, community radio.
Yes.
Um, they've set us up with the Omni platform now, so we've got the listen back option, and that's really opened up my listenership. Is that a word?
Mm.
Yeah, I've got a whole heap of new people now because they know that they don't have to set that time aside and listen on the Tuesday night. I've got my loyal listeners that are always tuned in, or most of the time. Shout out Adro from Vault Hill, who always texts me on a Tuesday.
Uh,
Even when he's not listening in, he'll always text me to say, sorry, I can't listen in tonight, but have a great show. It's the best. It's the best. And that's what I love about the heavy metal community is community. Everyone, like, for the most part, yes, there's dickheads. There's always dickheads, but for the most part, metal,
mm.
especially on this grassroots level, everyone gets behind each other and backs each other for the most part. And it's so wholesome and I love it. And that's why I do this. That's why I immerse myself in it.
And I mean, Adrian, like, I have a lot of time for all the guys in Vault Hill, but I feel like Adros is like one of the nicest guys you'll meet in the metal scene, if not. Like, he's
Oh,
just super chill. Like, you can chat to him for hours.
absolutely. And he is he is backed for Heretic Frequency from the start.
Mm.
The way he gets amongst all the Melbourne metal mates and, bolsters that up as well. And yeah, nah, I've got a lot of time for the guy as well.
Yeah. And the best thing about them, they make fucking awesome music, Vault Hill, as well. That's the icing on the cake.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want everyone to get down to Ticked Off nice and early because those guys have got an early slot. And it was so hard organizing the lineup for Ticked Off because it was, who do I give what spot to and all that sort of thing. But I've tactfully put Vault Hill sort of early on because they have played Bendigo before. I continually get feedback from people who were at the show that they played in January with Whisperhead, and I know that they've amassed a little Bendigo following. So I'm like, okay, cool. If I put Vault Hill on earlier on in the day, in theory, that should entice people to come in the doors nice and early,
Yeah.
and hopefully everyone wants to stick around and do the thing from start to finish. It's going to be a big day. I hope they're ready for it.
Why did they have to put me on at work all day Saturday and then Sunday lunch? I was like, can you just give me Sunday dinner and all of Saturday off? It's like,
I know, but dude, like you go to so many shows. Like, is there any band on this lineup that you haven't seen anyway?
actually, as funny enough, you have actually found me two bands I haven't seen. Die in a
Yes.
Dream and Shot Dead 47. Oh, sorry, three. Trance State, sorry.
Oh yeah, okay. So all good ones. Shot Dead 47, a really new little Bendigo band. They're youngsters. I copped onto them at a freezer like youth battle of the bands last year. And I just really liked their vibe. It was all kids, all high school bands at this show that I went to. And there was some really, really good talent, but there was something about these guys that really stuck out. And they're not metal, they're punk. They're a punk rock band. But I really liked their energy. I liked their vibe. And I really wanted to give that opening spot to some kids that, otherwise might not get to experience something as big as this and just give them a taste of what we can do, not just on a like not just in general, but on a local level, what can happen, what you can be involved in. The more I progress with Heretic Frequency, the more I kind of get attached to this local level um, live music experience that, like I was saying to Chris from Orpheus the other day, I think a lot of the time we, as bands, we try to bypass that a little bit, or we're trained to think that we have to bypass to make it to, the support slots with North Lane, or, the bigger time, whereas I see so much magic happening at these, at the Workers Club, at the Bergie Band Room, at Last Chance Rock and Roll, here at the Golden Vine in Bendigo, Volta in Ballarat, those local venues. There's so much cool shit going on, man, and there's so many great connections and great bands, and you can have just as great of a time, as a Margaret Court Arena show. Yeah, okay, it's going to be different. The vibe will be different, but that you can have just as good of a time. And as you know yourself, you can just like walk around the venue and talk to the bands.
Yeah. Well,
because they're like they're just one of us, like it's
yeah,
it's a much more, I don't know, it's a much more immersive and personal experience, I think.
I've never. I know there are probably again bands out there that are that keep themselves and rude and all that. But in all the times I've been out, I've never come across as anyone rude.
No, I
No.
think like yeah, generally the local scene, it's pretty, uh, like I said, it's always going to be dickheads, but it's pretty wholesome for the most part. And I think even those bands that may come across as rude, sometimes I think they're just introverted. Like, not everyone's a party animal. Not
Nah.
everyone's like, not everyone wants to be in amongst it. Like, yeah, so maybe they come across as rude, but they're just a little more introverted. I don't
Well,
know.
the
That's
other
me
thing,
trying to give people excuses.
the other thing is though, is that they also could be having just a really bad day. Something might have happened in their life, or they might have, yeah.
Mm,
So we
we're
don't
all
know what.
human.
Yeah. Like there's times that like I've walked into venues and like I love chatting to the bands, but there's been some days where I've just felt like maybe I just want to just not cut myself out of the gig at all, but just sort of maybe just take a step back and sort of
Yeah, be in a little bubble.
yeah, like
Yeah,
nine times
I
out of
get bubble
10,
days.
9 times out of 10, if someone sees me, of course I'll go up and say hello. But it's yeah, sometimes it's sort of just like, especially in a small venue more than a big, like Stay Goldbergy, Bendigo, you can sort of maneuver around without people sort of realizing. In small
Yes.
venues, it's not very easy.
No, that's very, very true.
Yeah, like Nighthawks, I thought, oh, I'll just get in, discreetly. No one will pick me out, and then Will from Total Buzzkill, so I'll be like, yes, I'm not getting through here without.
I'd be surprised if you can get anywhere without being spotted these days, my
Yeah,
friend.
I reckon you'd be getting up there too, as I mean, Heretic Frequency, Spacegoat. I mean, yeah, I reckon a lot of
Yeah.
people know who you are.
Well, it's getting that way, I think. Not that that's anything I ever set out to achieve, but it's funny when we played at ArcFest a few weeks back, um, I almost was like functioning as two different humans on the same day, because I had people that knew me from Heretic and then people that knew me from Spacegoat, but didn't realize I was the one human, the same person. So like then so there was a few conversations where it was sort of started off as like, oh hey, you're the chick from Heretic Frequency. Yeah, yeah. Anyway, I got to get ready to get on stage. And they're like, what? And then they make that correlation of like, oh, hang on a minute, you're like also in Space Goat. Hey, okay. It's a bit weird, but anyway, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be a common theme at the moment. Musicians in bands doing radio shows. I mean, I know Four Division is sort of finished up, but Jack doing core on Triple J, obviously.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I went for that job and he stole it off me.
Sorry, Jack, if you're watching.
I had no illusions that I was in for a chance with that job, but hey, you got to be in it to win it.
Yeah. Nah, I'm glad it's still going ahead, that metal show on Triple J, because for
Yeah.
so long, so many bands here in Australia that I know have had their songs played on like Full Metal Racket and that,
Mm.
and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see that there's still a spot for the heavy stuff on mainstream radio. Not that Triple J wants to be mainstream radio, but let's face it, these days it definitely is.
Yes, let's not get into hottest 100s of past years that.
We don't need to give them any more of our discussion time than it already has had, I think.
So,
This is the thing. If I had have got that job, I wouldn't be able to still be here championing the underdogs, the local level bands. I would have been probably pinned into a corner of like what I had to play and what I had to cover. Whereas the great thing about community radio and Heretic is that I can choose what I play. And yeah, hell yeah, I'm going like when I first started, it was definitely a mixture of international and local and Australian mixes and stuff like that. And then just very quickly, I realized one that people were more interested in the local stuff, which is so good. It's so good that people because they can get on Spotify and listen to Spirit Box anytime they want. I
yeah.
don't Spirit Box doesn't need me to play them.
Hmm.
I might have got the odd person tuning in that was on their drive home or whatever that was like, maybe never heard of a band like Spirit Box or someone bigger. But why would I give my airtime to a band that doesn't need it when there are so many? And I know I'm preaching to the choir with you. You know how many great bands are out there that are just, playing small shows,
Mm.
just ticking around the local scene in Australia. And it's just like, hence why I put on TIC'D off because I was like, I know that there's so much talent out there and I want to showcase it. So I'm just making sound effects with my mic stand. Sorry, I hope for that.
I didn't hear anything. Gee, I
Oh,
must be
good.
going deaf or something.
I flicked a spring and it made a weird vibrating noise. I
Uh,
gotta
it's,
like, I gotta sit on my hands, man. I'm not very good at sitting still.
it's not as bad as Sam knocking his mic off when he was trying to talk a few weeks ago. And I'm like, why is there dead air on YouTube? And look down at my microphone. Oh, you're an idiot, Sam.
Hey, it's real. That's there's
Uh,
nothing scripted about this. It's all real.
it's all fun. I don't know why I didn't try this earlier. Like, I love doing the audio, but now it's sort of like you can see the person you're talking to, you can see the expressions and everything
I
like that.
I think you're very brave, actually. I have thought about it and I'm not ready yet because I like to still have that level of control over like being able to edit audio, especially because um, I'm really bad at shutting up. And so I get talking, my guests get talking, and next minute it's like 2 hours of chat and I've got to fit it into a half an hour
Oh,
time slot on
yeah.
my radio show. So the audio is so much easier to edit down and make fit. And then I've got a whole heap of backed up interviews that I keep saying I'm going to put the extended versions out on my Spotify channel, but that's a whole lot of time that I don't have just at the moment.
No.
Once TIC'D off is out of the way, I think my time will be freed up a little bit more. Like that's definitely been consuming my existence for the last 8 months of
Yep.
my life. So yeah, the fact that we're like looking down the barrel of the week of now, I'm like pumped. I'm so pumped.
Mm. And of course, for those that didn't hear, Ez also interviewed Dane from OCD Band, who are also playing Ticked Off and also playing Ticked Off Abduction the night before.
Yes. Yeah. So I was really happy that I was able to manage to get them a Melbourne show as well. Fun fact, just to backtrack a little bit, when Ticked Off first became an idea, the first band I hit up was We're the Devil because I've been good friends with their drummer Rob for, oh God, a few years now. I'm going to say maybe since about 2000, maybe 2020, around COVID time. So good 5 years or so. And had this little idea about putting on a festival, and I sort of thought, I wonder if I can, at first it was just like, maybe I'll get some Melbourne bands on and some local Bendigo bands and maybe, Ballarat or whatever. And I'm like, oh, could I aim bigger? So I hit up Rob and I was like, just hypothetically, if I asked you to come down to Victoria for a show, would you entertain it? And pretty quickly he came back with a yes.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, okay, maybe I can make this bigger than what I'm sort of thinking. And it just kind of took a life of its own from there. So yeah, so when he said yes, I thought, it's a long way to come down. Maybe I should try and give them a show in Melbourne as well to make the travel worth it. And when Alienist jumped on board, I was like, all right, we can make this a bigger show too, and I'll combine it everything. So just for context, because we're jumping from thing to thing here, on the Friday before Ticked Off, which is this Friday, the 2nd of May, Workers Club, Alienist are headlining. We've got the City, who I cannot wait to see. They're representing Melbourne for us. And then, Where the Devil and OCD are also on that lineup as well. So I'm really stoked for OCD as well, because they're not new musos by any stretch of the imagination, but the band itself, is still sort of in its infancy, I suppose. And to have them be able to come down and just like, hopefully that kicks some things off for them as well,
And Dan will be doubled playing in
Yeah.
OCD band and Where the Devil.
Absolutely, yeah. I talked to Dane about that. Dan and Dane in the same band is very not cool for me. Okay, my ADHD can't latch on to one or the other. I was talking to Dane about how Dan's stamina is because he'll be doing the same thing the next day at Ticked Off as well. So good on him.
I don't
Gets
know.
a double dose of it. He gets to have more, double the fun.
Yeah. No. And speaking of Dan, if you watch back YouTube, 2 months is it already since that interview was out? Wow. I interviewed Dan from Where the Devil back in February. It doesn't feel that long ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago then, wasn't it? I know time flies though, hey. This year already scooting along.
We're in May, next Thursday. It's like, how are we in May nearly already?
I know. Well, even just this festival, like I said, I've been planning it for 8 months. I sort of conceived the idea around 10 months ago and was sort of talking back and forth with Paul, who owns the Golden Vine. And it was funny because I went to him and I said, look, would you entertain the idea of me putting on a metal festival? And I was thinking about 8 bands, and because the Vine is a funny little venue. It's during the day it's very bistro, Palmers and Palmers and tables and chairs, and and that all obviously will get cleared out for Ticked Off. But being that style of venue, their bread and butter is their meal times, And so I said to Paul, if I start it sort of around 4, 5 o'clock, pile in 8 bands, that way I'm not encroaching on your lunchtime. And he was like, nah, lunchtime really isn't where we make our money. Dinner time is. So if you're going to be encroaching on my dinner time, then you might as well encroach on lunchtime and make it bigger. And I was like, okay. So then 8 bands became 12, which became 13 by accident. And yeah, here we are. Me just like the little duck with the feet going on a million miles an hour underwater, trying to make it all come together. But it's so close now. So
it's a week away. This time next week.
Exactly. Yes, it is.
But if you do need to get your tickets though for Ticked Off in Bendigo, because I did see Ben from Where the Devil say it's at 70% capacity now. So,
yep, I am a little flabbergasted, but also like, woo, let's go.
Well, there's no band on that lineup that I would say I wouldn't want to see. I've seen most of the lineup a couple of times, and funnily enough, 2 of the bands I'm actually seeing before Ticked Off Abduction on that ticked off lineup in Druid and Archangel, because Druid are playing tonight with Weight of Silence and Rising Tide,
Yes, that's right.
and Archangel are playing that Battle of the Bands wildcards night on Wednesday night. So
Mm, yes. Yeah. So you haven't seen Archangel before?
no, I'd seen them a week ago at their EP launch at Last Chance. Sorry, 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
cool. That looked like that popped off as well.
that was it. I had Ghost Seeker that night. I was like, I hope I don't have to leave halfway through Archangel to get to Ghost Seeker. And then Archangel finished at like 10 to 7. I'm like, I've actually got time to get from Last Chance to Bergie. It's only 10 minutes on the tram.
Yeah. See, I actually really love the idea of those matinee shows, and they seem to be doing quite well.
Mm. And
I don't know if that's just because I'm getting old.
Last Chance seemed to do them more than anyone. I know Bergie has done a few, and Desert Highways in Reservoir has, but I think Last Chance is like the ideal one to do them, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they're in a really good location for it, so I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure.
Not my favourite venue, Last Chance, but damn, their meals are good.
Yeah, I know. And their hospitality is just great. Like they really look after bands and no, we haven't played there before, but I've when those guys were going through the whole rigmarole to try and save the tote,
Yeah.
and they really like I can get around a venue that might not be the best for, space or sound or anything like that. But if they provide a good atmosphere and they really look after the musicians and the punters, then I'm in there. You can be as dingy as it fucking likes to be, you know. It's all about it's all about the attitude and the vibe more than anything to me.
Sam just doesn't have an issue with the staff or anything. I think Sam just doesn't like sticky floors, and if you've been to the Last Chance, you'll know what I'm talking about because they're
Yes.
their carpet. It's like I love the atmosphere and like being that close to the bed, and then I'm like, why can't I move my feet?
You're like full Michael Jackson in it, just like feet stay in one place where you're moving around. Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get it.
But then again, they're 100%. I've never seen a bad set from a band at Last Chance, so they're
Mm,
100% record. So I'm hoping tonight continues that.
yeah, absolutely.
But Rise from Ashes, Druid, yeah. So Rise from Ashes, the Rising Tide, Druid, and Weight of Silence. That's actually a really good lineup.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Yep. My boys Rice from Ashes, I love those guys.
Ah, yes, and Finn with his Outcast bookings or co doing it, obviously.
Yes. Yep. Yep. I know there's some amazing people doing, a lot of good things for the scene. Absolutely. And yeah, those guys with Outcast are doing great things in Melbourne for sure.
I
In
tell.
fact, Finn actually helped me out with so I've got to give him some praise and props and shout out. He actually helped me out with securing the Workers Club for the ticked off abduction alienist gig that's happening on Friday night. So I really wanted to give those bands a decent venue to play at with a good stage, and I, I suppose venues probably get hit up left and right from people, and outside of Bendigo, it's a bit harder for me. So I utilized my contacts, and yeah, Finn helped me out there. So yeah,
Yeah,
yep.
Rise from Ashes, because they played that Cup Chaos Eve the last 2 years, and that's at the Workers Club. So Finn obviously has worked at that gets people through and also contacts through the Workers Club with that. So yeah.
Yeah, yep. It's all about networking, all about contacts. That's yeah, and just being a good person. I've said this a lot too. Like um, I don't mind messing around with bands that maybe aren't, how do I say this tactfully, as skilled as some other bands. They might be a bit more raw and a bit more rough around the edges and have things to learn. But if they're good people, I will give them my time because, getting amongst it and becoming, networking with your peers and stuff like that, it's how you get better at your craft anyway. well,
Mm.
if you want to get better. Whereas I don't know, there are some bands like, again, like we said, there's always dickheads in any scene. There may be some bands that are technically amazing bands, but not easy to work with. And you know, I'll work with a band once if they're hard work, then you know, there's never any bad blood or hard feelings, but I probably just won't work with them again. You know, I only like to work with good people that are easygoing and just want to have a good time.
Yeah. And also,
Which is most of them, which is really good. That's a good thing.
but in general, as I mean, in life, you come across good people and you come across total dickheads, but that's just life in general. Like in any
Exactly.
workplace.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think, but with what I'm doing, I don't have to answer to anyone. So I don't have to spend my time like mucking around with idiots if I don't have to. So
No.
it's good.
Yeah.
Unlike a workplace, an actual like proper
Yeah.
workplace where you're kind of stuck with those dickheads, aren't you?
Yes, Sam, leave your rant on what happened at Thursday night at work, but yeah, we'll leave that one. I'll use some obscenity that I'm glad the customers didn't hear. Otherwise, I'd been in a lot of trouble, I reckon.
Sometimes it's a saving grace to just go around a corner and have a little swear, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
No, these customers or these people were rude. They were rude to everyone there. It's just like we're doing our job. Just be nice. Don't be a cunt. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. But that's just people these days. That's just people in general,
mm,
unfortunately. But the great thing about what we do, like music, is that it's such a good distraction from all of that. It's
mm.
such a good escape from all of that. And
And
you'd know that better than anyone, like heading down to Melbourne for a gig on a weekend, you just leave all of that shit behind.
yeah, I don't even care if I don't catch up with any of the bands and I'm just there watching the bands. That makes me as happy as catching up with the bands. So in some ways, almost more happy because at the end of the day, seeing a band, they know you've come out to the show, whether you've moshed, whether you stood at the back like I generally do. I always stand at the
Mm-hmm.
back.
Yep.
Um, you bought a ticket, you've taken your time to see a band. I mean,
Yep.
yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing that Chris from Orpheus said to me is like no matter whether they're getting into it or they're standing at the back of the room with their arms folded, those people have chosen to spend their night with you, and that is significant.
Mm. And
So
look,
yeah.
there are times I will go up the front and mosh. I've done it actually quite a few times the last month or so. Like, I don't know how
Hmm.
I just got back into it all of a sudden.
Uh-oh,
But
Sam's off the chain.
I told a buzzkill a couple of weeks ago. I was literally 2 meters from where Lindsay, the guitarist, was standing. I'm like, how did I get this close to the front? But then
You just
again,
vibrated your way up to the front.
but then again, Nighthawks is one of those venues that is the easiest to get to the front too, because
I've never
look,
been there.
you
I've never
walk.
been into Nighthawks.
I actually don't mind Nighthawks. It's just Whole Lot of Love is the one that reminds me a lot of Nighthawks. It's not a big venue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We played there before it shut down. Um, yeah, that was a weird shaped little venue too, wasn't it? With the stage in that like triangular corner and
And
yeah.
the bar literally next to the stage, pretty much.
Which is like not so bad for some musicians who might just want to like lean over and just get their drink order while they're on stage. But yeah.
Or some of the bands you see members jump up on the like on the actual bar top, and I've seen a lot of members of bands do that. It's like that's actually quite unique.
If you can do it, then you do it. I definitely Spacegoat at the Golden Vine. Not a lot. Well, depending on our set, really, but we tend to like to get off stage a lot. And again, just going back to my chat with Chris from Orpheus, I did say to him that I was going to word him up on all the spots to get to. Because now he's wearing this face mask that has like his mic like fixed into it, so he can now run around. He's not
Yeah.
stuck on stage with a mic stand and a traditional mic in his face. So he's very keen to run around, and I was like, dude, I'll show you all the spots.
Now,
I won't share it with everyone because then everyone will be up and about. I don't know, maybe Transstate, they might get to have some fun. Not that I feel like I can control those guys in any way, shape, or form.
no.
I'm so keen. I'm so keen. And by all accounts, anyone I ask, like, who are you really keen to see it ticked off? Transstate keep getting up. Like, it's hands down, that's who everyone's there to see. Sorry, Orpheus.
Sorry, Alienness. Sorry, Orpheus. Archangel. We
It
want
just
to see.
goes to show as well, you know, like this online banter that, and this is what it's come from. If anyone's not familiar with the lineup and what's been going on online and whatnot, and the guys from Translate have been very interactive on all of the posts, like other bands' posts in the event chat, on their own stuff, and they're just naturally really silly and really funny boys.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, like it's an amazing way to get yourself sort of noticed and recognized. But at the same time, I know that they're not doing it for that reason. That's just how they are. And I think that's something that a lot of bands need to take into consideration. Just play on your strengths. Like if you're a funny band, then play on that. But don't try and be funny if you're not a funny band, because I know we've all seen those as well, those reels of bands that are trying to be comedic. And if it doesn't come naturally, then just don't. Just don't. Try and find something else that makes you stand out, you know.
Very sound advice. Well, you've sort of answered two questions already without the interview actually starting, because we've talked that much about ticked off and also sort of what Spacegoat have been getting up to since we last spoke. But we will actually get into the actual interview.
Yeah, if we cover stuff again, then we just cover stuff again. It's fine.
Because we've been talking for 40 minutes. I don't know how it's been that long already. Like,
No.
generally
I do.
happens.
Because I can't be shy. I really love the sound of my own voice. That's why I have a radio show.
You think Sam hates the sound of his own voice, Ez, and you think, why would Sam get into podcasting and WebEx meetings if he hates the sound of his own voice?
You do such a good job of it. You need to give yourself some credit.
Thank you. Well, right back at you. I mean, yeah, I think Ez is literally one of the biggest supporters of local music. I know there are a lot in Melbourne, but yeah, I think regional wise, yeah, I mean, the Bendigo, Ballarat area, I mean, if it wasn't for Heretic Frequency, a lot of these bands probably wouldn't get exposure.
I appreciate that a lot, my friend.
And, you know, we can ramble on about, you know, that we're from regional, we do all the hard work and all that, but if you actually see what us two have done the last few years, I mean, it's hard to argue.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's chipping away in their own right, and that's awesome. But yeah, there are a few people just going hard at it. I didn't try to go hard at it; just kind of took a life of its own. But here we are. So yeah, I appreciate the kind words, and yourself, like you've been 5 years, dude.
Yeah,
Happy anniversary. It's today.
Yeah, April 26, 2020. I looked back on Spotify, was my first podcast episode.
What
Now,
a milestone. Congratulations.
Thank you. I knew it was coming up. For some reason, I thought it was May. And then I went back and like, I did one around Anzac Day during COVID. And Anzac Day must have been the 25th of April, which was the Saturday in 2020. So I reckon my first interview or podcast was Sunday the 26th of April 2020.
There you go.
There's one positive to Spotify. I won't ramble on about the negative stuff.
Well, that's a rabbit hole, and there's pros and cons, and it's just I feel like that's a topic that has been done to death a little bit, and if you want to get into that, there's plenty of other places you can go to talk about the The evils of Spotify. But I
But there,
can't talk because I have a subscription and that's how I consume my music. So
and also Sam did audio podcasts on Spotify for 3.5 years, so Sam can't really say anything much either.
yeah. It's honestly it's a really good tool and it's a really good platform. It's just that the people behind it could be doing better. That's all I'll say about it.
I reckon if I had $1 for every time I ranted out Spotify, I don't think I'd have to work another day in my life. But anyway, off topic. Yes, for those that don't know, 5 years, as mentioned, it's a little bit hard to believe. It feels like 5 months ago.
I feel so honored that I get to be the person you speak to on this occasion, this momentous occasion.
No, well, I was really looking forward to having you on. Anyway, like, I didn't realise up until about 2 months ago it was actually going to be the 5 year milestone, but
Mm, it's worked out really well.
yeah. All right, so Ez knows the gist of these interviews. Can't believe it's 2 years since we last spoke on a podcast.
I know, I know. I was just thinking then, like if it's been 5 years for you, then it's got to at least be 2 or 3 since we've known each other through this as well. So,
Yeah.
and that's how cool is that? That's the other thing. The friendships you make through
Mm.
doing this kind of work is just like, yeah, unbelievable. I was telling someone just the other day that my closest network of friends aren't even in the same town as me. Like I said, I'm constantly on voice messages and on phone calls to people that are all over the country that I've just connected so well with that I otherwise wouldn't have found if it wasn't
Mm.
for music and this sort of stuff. So yeah,
Oh,
I found my soul tribe through doing this, which I, am forever grateful for.
I feel like similar with me, as because Warragul, for those that don't know where Warragul is, it's not a Melbourne, it's not a Geelong, it's not a Sydney, it's not a big town. It's about 15,000 people. Obviously there's a few bands coming out of this area and some great artists as well, but I'd say 75% of my like small network would be interstate more than
Mm.
in Victoria.
Yeah, which it's an awesome thing, but it can get like a little frustrating too because it'd be nice to just be able to hang out with these people rather than just like hit them up on the phone or a message or whatever, send a stupid Snapchat video or something like that. So my main form of communication these days is just people get harassed by me on Snapchat. It's the closest I can come to a face-to-face conversation.
Or I'll just tag bands and then they message. It's like, oh, it's that's a way to get their attention. They're probably over it by now, some bands, but
I honestly, I don't think so. I think the more, again, it comes down to that repetition that I was talking about earlier. The more tags is the same as giving a bunch of plays or whatever. If you and I have discovered bands through you because of you sharing and tagging and stuff like that. And I know, and I feel really actually quite I feel like I achieved something this week when you said that you had discovered 2 new bands through my show,
yeah.
which I did not expect that I would be able to outband you. Like, there's no way. And I'll tell you a sneaky little secret, right? So there's been 1 or 2 shows where I've had space left that I had to fill up and I'm like, God damn it, who am I going to put on this week? And I really like these days, I really don't want to put any internationals unless they're international independent bands that I know that I've made sort of a personal connection with, then I might chuck them on. Shout out Bloody Pineapples.
Love
From
that name.
I know it's so good. Yes, I've got a bit of time for those boys, so I'll sneak them in. They're from I think their members are from a few different countries, but based in the States. But yeah, there have been a couple of occasions when I'm like, I don't know who to put on. I'll just stalk Sam's profile and see who he's been listening to lately. No
Stalk
word of a
Sam's
lie.
profile.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep. So thank you.
that's
Hey, but that's how it all sort of gets out there, you know? It's like the uh like a spider web. We're
I
all
think
connected somehow.
I think also, and this, I know New Zealand is technically overseas and all that, but the way I sort of gel it in together, like with Crooked Rolls and No Life, Alien Weaponry, I'm like, they're going to go in the playlist. I know they're from New Zealand, but they're
Australians love claiming New Zealanders as their own, so
yeah.
it's like the little, I don't know, the little brother or something. Like, hey, I've just snuck my little brother in the back door. It's okay, right? That's how. No, oh God, that sounds so like
Oh, everyone
dismissive
in
of
New
New
Zealand's going to hate
Zealand.
me after this episode.
I know.
Oh, just
Well, we
hope.
are. We're Australians are absolute shitheads when it comes to New Zealand. We really are. We take the piss out of them so much when we don't like something they do, and then when we like something they do, we fucking claim it as our own. That's what we do. I
Oh,
don't say I agree with it. I'm just saying this is what happens.
oh, please hope Matt and Cody from Rising Tide are not. Oh, wait, this won't be up before tonight. I was going to say if it was up before tonight and they watched it, they're like, oh no.
Hey, I'm just spitting facts, man. I'm not saying I agree with it.
But there are some really good New Zealand, and I mentioned what four there: Rising Tide, No Life, Crooked Royals, Alien Weaponry. There's a whole heap of them out there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Just hidden away until Australians decide that we want to claim them as ours, and then then we shine the spotlight. Look, just digging the hole deeper, aren't I?
All right, so this episode, I would love to have it up by tonight, but I gotta watch it back. My computer, when my data's up, is so slow at uploading, so I highly doubt. But this time tomorrow afternoon, this episode will be up on YouTube.
Awesome.
And of course, the
Awesome.
Spotify playlist will feature Spit the Poison, Concede, Defy, and Dirty Fighter by Spacegoat.
Nice.
I was
Thank you.
thinking it was between Dirty Fighter and Beyond the Stars as the last one. I'm like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
difficult. Or do I just put both of them in with Concede, Defy, and Spit the Poison? I thought, four songs? I've done it before. Maybe I'll chuck Beyond the Stars in there.
You can do whatever you want, man. It's your show, your
So,
playlist.
yeah, so that will be uploaded about 2 hours. I generally put it up on my newsfeed about 2 hours after the episode has been uploaded, so it gives us a bit of time for people to watch a bit of the interview and then listen to the music.
Yeah, sure thing. Yeah, sounds like a good system.
Mm. All right, well, what has Spacegoat been up to since we last spoke? And well, we just dropped two of the singles that were released.
Yes, yeah. So look, honestly, things are going relatively slow in Space Goat Land at the moment. We recorded the EP, which Spit the Poison and Concede Defy, like you said, are the two singles so far this year. There are another four. But and we recorded those with Chris the Malco from Orpheus Omega at Monolith Studios mid last year, so June, July last year. So, you know, that's a fair while away in terms of, you know, when we started releasing. But there's just in life, man, it's just there's holdups and this, that, and the other. And I've been through my panic period of like, oh, we're not being active enough, and you know, we're not getting things out frequently enough and whatnot. To now, I'm just like, it is what it is, and if people are going to like it, they're going to like it, whether it came out in, you know, whether you follow the formula or you don't follow the formula. And I think I would rather the next song we're bringing out. I'm quite keen on putting a bit of effort into the music video for it. So I would rather be able to spend a bit of extra time and have that come out maybe a bit later than I'd liked.
Yep.
And know that we've got a good product, we've got a great video, et cetera, than, you know, just pumping them out because the internet algorithms tell you have to release a song every 6 to 8 weeks, you know. There's all these rules that people sort of influencers and stuff in the industry like to spout on about. And at the end of the day, I think, look, yeah, you can take those loosely, but I don't know that it makes a whole lot of difference to whether you're gonna make it or not. I think sometimes it is just luck. But yeah, we've just been chipping away, nice and slowly, just been chipping away with things. So like I said, we've got 4 more songs to release, and which will amalgamate to an EP at the end. When that's going to be out, I can't tell you because yeah, it's just sort of like happening organically, I suppose. But working on this EP with Chris was amazing. It's the second time we've worked with Chris. He did Dirty Fighter, he did Eternal Return and Beyond the Stars, which we released as like standalone singles just as an experiment. This time around, we're like, made no difference to do singles versus an EP. So I think we like the idea of having our music sort of wrapped up in a package. So I like that we're going back to an EP this time around. And we've got Ben Hosking from Where the Devil. He's done the artwork for the EP cover. It hasn't obviously I've been sitting on that for a little bit, so really happy with that as well. So it's all these little things that people don't think about that you've got to kind of chip away at. And yeah, you can go like head down, ass up, and get it done really quickly. We've just chosen not to do that this time around. But yeah, like playing a lot of we've been playing. We usually have this rule, right, of like we'll only play in Bendigo 3 times a year max. We've already maxed that out this year. In the first 2 months of the year, we'd already played 3 times in Bendigo. And obviously we've got ticked off coming up this weekend. Then we're playing at another venue the week after, which is usually a no-no, but it's a very, very different venue with a very, very different crowd. So we're like, it'll be fine. And then we're playing with Ironstone a bit later on in the year, which hasn't been announced yet, but whoops.
Love those guys too.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, we haven't played a show with them since, oh wow. We haven't played a show with Ironstone since they had Victoria Kay singing for them when we played with them last.
That's a while ago.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, I was going to say, that'd have to be, like 6 years ago.
At least. Yeah. Yep. I reckon it might have even been 2018 that we played with them. And yeah, Vicky was still their singer back then. So they've been through a massive, massive change. And as you know, lots of evolution has gone on in the Ironstone camp since then. So it'll be good to play with them.
Dan's now the vocalist of North Road. I mean, and he's he's in Hereafter as well. Sorry, forgot to mention that one.
They fly under the radar a little bit Hereafter.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, like, I like Jordan in North Road, and I hope if Jordan's watching this isn't any attack on him, but I feel like North Road with Dan in it is somewhat suits them better. Like,
yeah, again, it's all just evolution, I think, man. Like, puzzle pieces fall into place where they're supposed to. I'm a big believer on just sort of like going with the flow. That if that's in bands, or anything else in life. But I agree with you. It has been, and knowing Dan personally for a few years, I've got so much time for him, and he is such a wonderful human. And it's been so, because he's quite a bit younger than me, so I get this like kind of mother hen feeling about him, and I'm just like, I'm so proud of little Dan for what he's doing. And it's just, he's awesome. And it's great to see how North Road has taken off with him at the helm.
No, and like if Vault Hill are some of the nicest guys you'll meet, North Road in general, just have all the time in the world for North Road.
Yeah. Oh, look, we could spend the next 2 hours just listing off bands that have got amazing people in them.
Yeah.
Because I know so many of them, and I could shout out all of them. And like every band that I've got on the ticked off lineup, for that reason, like I only selected bands that I knew were going to be great people to work with.
Some of them like a good chat on that ticked off lineup too. So
I know.
Gee, was it? No, it wasn't Jaden. It wasn't Jake. It was the other guy out of Archangel. I was just sitting at the
Harrison.
bar. Yeah, I got talking to Harrison for like 15 minutes at the EP lodge, and I hadn't done it deliberately. Just sat down to grab a beer, and he's just there. I'm just like, what is it with interstate bands and wanting to sit and chat? And again, no disrespect because they do it so well, these interstate bands, but it's something like it's in their contract. They see someone and they go, I'll chat to that person for 25, 30 minutes.
It's illegal to leave a person sitting by themselves without accosting them and chewing their ear off for the next 20 minutes.
But no, I mean, obviously, all bands are good at that. It's just sometimes you need to get to another gig or you need to get home.
Oh, man, I've become so good at being like, anyway, that's nice. I gotta go now. See you, bye. I just exit stage left.
Or my theory is I go to that band first to talk
Yes.
to
Yeah.
before they perform, because I know if I go to them afterwards,
Oh yeah, then they've got all the time in the world.
and if there's not
Good
another
good
gig,
tactics.
yeah,
Good tactic. I
doesn't
like it.
work all the time though, Es, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But no, I love the guys in Archangel. I've loved all the bands that I've stumbled across, and yeah. But no, that's a great lineup. I did like that message Neil put up from OCD bed. He goes, "Do you ever sleep?" It was a literally genuine question. It's just like, this is on my days off work.
Yeah. Oh man, I get it though. I'm exactly the same. It's like you do your day job and then you get home and you're on the computer and then you post in, or you're doing some kind of content, or you're getting prepared for your next interview or your next show. Or, for me, I've got, not only have I got the Alienist gig in Melbourne and ticked off on the go, but I'm also organising tours for two interstate bands in July and August, which aren't announced yet, so I can't say who they are or what they are. But so there's like another 6 shows. So at the moment, I've got 8 shows under my belt that I'm sort of like working on. It's just a constant chipping away. So yeah, sleep. What sleep? No, I don't have time for sleep. I
Well,
sleep when, honestly, this is no word of a lie, and this is why I've been a little run down lately. I sleep when I'm like on my computer and brain fog has like reached a level of you just can't keep doing this. And I look at the time and I go, oh, it's 2 a.m. Suppose I better go to bed. and then I sleep for like 3 to 5 hours, and then I get up and go to work, and then I do the whole thing again. That's got to stop.
yeah.
Don't do that. Don't be like me. It has taken its toll a little bit. So one thing I've learned, if I've learned anything from booking tours and because it's been trial by fire for me. I only started up Heretic Frequency a little over a year ago, a year and a half ago now. And so a lot of this stuff was things I'd already done on a smaller scale just for my own band, not for other bands. But I've gone from a slow jog to a sprint, and I've definitely learned that next time around, I won't be doing it by myself, because at the moment, every single aspect of organizing ticked off and all these other shows is, well, not all of them, but yeah, the Alienist show and ticked off, all completely down to me. And it's been a lot. And I wouldn't recommend anyone do that. Get yourself a little team, a little posse of helpers. Be able to delegate jobs and find, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
I can imagine it would be. I don't know how you
Mm.
do it, honestly, Ez.
Me either.
And it's from regional Victoria too. Again, I'm not rambling on that we are further out from Melbourne, but I mean, yeah, I think it's a lot harder when you're not in the city as
Oh,
such.
definitely. I think there's pros and cons both ways. Definitely it's easier to obtain like lineups and venues and stuff in the city, but then you've faced the problem of too much. There's too much option, so oversaturation, you're fighting against that. Whereas I guess using Ticked Off again as an example here in Bendigo, and some of the smaller shows I've put on here in Bendigo, there's nothing else competing against it here.
Nah.
So, but then my other challenge is if it's not something that's as accessible to people, then I have to really push promo for people to know about it. Whereas I guess in Melbourne, people know that they can go out and they can look like they can find a gig really easily without having to put a lot of brain power into it. Whereas in Bendigo, like we don't really have metal shows frequently. So
Nah.
when I do put them on, I've really got to pump promo to get the word out there, which is really hard. basically you have to pile money into it, because if you want to be seen on social media, you got to pay for advertising now. Otherwise, algorithms just bury things. Yeah, an absolute ton. I don't want my husband to know how much of our actual money I've spent on
No.
TikTok.
No, probably.
Because I'm not going to be making it back, I can tell you that much.
But
And that's not just advertising, that's so many other aspects of it. But yeah, which makes me very much respect bigger shows too, like you see people every year ragging on Not Fest lineup or ragging on Good Things or whatever else, and you're just like, I get it. I get where people get passionate about these things, but at the same time, dudes, the amount of money and time and work that goes into making these things happen is insane. Yeah.
See, yeah, like so many people were ratting out both Good Things and Not Fest, the last two lineups of each, especially 2024's Good Things. It's just like, yeah, but they can't just go, all right, we're going to Bring Me the Horizon every year, or Bullet for My Valentine, or Fall Out Boy every year, because that just costs way too much money.
Mm, mm. Yeah, and it's like it comes down to as well who's available. I mean, these bands aren't just floating around out there just waiting to be plucked up for like Good Things Festival. These things have to be like ticked off is a small, very, very small fry compared to that. But yet I started planning this 8 months ago, those bands that people want to see, they might already have a European tour booked, or they might be in the studio, or they might be this. They can't just like be at everyone's beck and call because Good Things Festival comes up in December. There's so many moving cogs in those sorts of things. Like, yeah, you can't just put any old band on. They might not necessarily be, within the budget, or they might not, if they are in the budget, they might not be touring, or even just down to touring, like their touring cycles, where they're at in a current album tour or something like that. It might not line up. So it's yeah, it is nowhere near as simple as people think it is. I don't think, and I don't even claim to know what goes on. I just know a little bit, and what I know, it probably goes far, far, far deeper than, the things that I don't know that goes on in the background of these things. So I try not to criticize.
No.
And you know what? I don't need to criticize. If it doesn't vibe with me, I just don't buy a goddamn ticket and I don't go. But but I suppose there's a certain type of people that maybe that's all they go to once a year is Good Things, is their or Not Fest or whatever it is. That's their event, whereas I'm just as happy going down to the Bendy or the Tote or whatever and seeing like that. And I know that I'm probably a minority in that regard, but that's what I'm banging on. That's what drum I'm banging these days. I'm like, well, if you don't like Good Things, go to TIC'D, or if you don't like this, go to that. There's options. You don't have to spend $280 a ticket.
No, I mean, I look at TIC'D, I look at Dead by Dawn at Bendy in May. That there's literally 11 bands playing Dead by Dawn, and it's $35 a ticket.
Yes, I know. Well, you know what? I feel like I really underestimated the pulling power of TIC'D, and I probably could have made my tickets a lot more expensive than what I did. I think it's $18 plus booking fee, which I think brings it up to about 20, which is an absolute steal. Honestly. Absolute steal. But I didn't want to price people out of it either. I didn't, I'm very aware that in this day and age, everyone's sort of feeling the pinch in their wallets and all that sort of stuff. And you've got to really convince people, especially post-COVID. I hate sort of bringing up the COVID thing really, but it has changed the way that people get out and about and socialize too. I think it really put a lot of people in a space of like being at home is great and we don't go out unless it's, something really, really special. So I wanted to make it as accessible as possible, but Yeah, I think $35 is also an absolute steal for for a show too. And I've been eyeing off that lineup and thought, wouldn't mind going along to that too, but I've got to,
That's
can I do all the things?
yeah, May's looking. Really, there's a possibility I could be going to Alpha Wolf in Narry Warren as well. So it's like
Nice.
there would be 4 shows in 13 days because there'd be Dead by Dawn, Fame on Fire, Ocean Sleeper, and then the Alpha Wolf. I'm just like, is that
Hey,
too
I'll see you at
much?
Fame on Fire.
Yeah, no, I love Fame on Fire. I love the supports. I have all the time in the world for Alden Tapestry. I saw them at Halocene last year and just blew me away.
Yeah, I saw them when they scored the opening spot at Good Things 2 years ago, I think.
Oh
And that's
yeah,
where I saw them for the first time. But yeah, no, I'm keen for Fame on Fire. And am I correct in saying is Storm the Crown, are they playing at Dead by Dawn?
yes they are.
Yeah, see, I want to go for them.
Yeah,
Just because again, they've been really great supporters of me and what I do, and yeah, we've sort of chatted online a bit, and yeah, really get a good vibe from those guys, and I love the sound of them. I love
no.
their sound. So yeah, I'd love to get along to that. But
Sorry to, and
I
if Josh
kind of
from
promising people that I like would rest after after ticked off as well. So I'm not
Josh
supposed to
isn't.
rest when there's all these gigs to go to.
Josh from Deadweight's probably not going to like what I'm about to say, but I actually want to see the interstate bands for Dead by Dawn more than the Melbourne bands. So if Melbourne bands are watching this, please, it's no offence, but
Well,
uh,
they are more accessible to you, aren't they? Like, and
yeah.
you've seen those bands before, whereas it's nice to be able to see bands from interstate that you don't get a chance to very often.
Honestly, I don't know who I want to see the most in that Dead by Dawn. It probably might be Storm the Crown. It's either Storm the Crown or Virtues. I think those are the two that I'm
Mm.
really keen.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And obviously, I love the guys in Furious George. Like, love that band to death.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, their vocalist Jake is not human and needs to go in the bin for how good his vocals are. I just like watch what he does and I'm just like, oh, how?
I have no
So
idea.
jealous. I'm so jealous of his vocal like abilities.
Now, I'm not trying to give away any clues, but did I hear right for that alt show with Fame on Fire? Like, I could be wrong that Dan from Ironstone is filling in for Daniel in alt, the vocalist. Because I did hear something on the grapevine that he's doing one of the shows.
He might be. I don't know. Like I try to be across everything these days for obvious reasons, but it's hard to have your finger on on the pulse of everything. So it's quite possible. I feel like I've seen him putting something up somewhere, but I don't know. I
And he,
can't confirm that one.
and he has filled in for Daniel from alt once or twice when they've been in Melbourne. So, look, don't hold me to it. If I'm wrong, then I'll be ridiculed. But I thought I just saw something. But anyway, that's hearsay until it's
I don't know
proven.
about ridicule. I just feel like it'd be more like just crossed wires. We
Yeah.
can't know it. We can't know everything, Sam.
Well, no is, but but maybe I'm thinking of a show last year that he filled in for Daniel. Maybe I'm not too sure.
Maybe. Maybe. It's a little incestuous, the old Melbourne music scene anyway, so I'm sure he'll pop up somewhere.
Yes. All right. What has the overall response been like for both Concede, Defy, and Spit the Poison?
It's been great for the people that have heard it. I think like going back to what I was sort of saying earlier about like it's harder to be heard or noticed amongst like the saturation that is like the online algorithms and things like that. So I have found that more and more, um, unless we pay to have like to push our songs out into like uh, paying for Instagram ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that, less it's less and less getting picked up these days. It's unfortunate that you have to drop coin. I suppose it's always been that way in one way or another. Back in the day, it was more like you would drop your coin on a PR company to push your songs out, whereas now it seems the way to do it is to just pay for advertising. But by all accounts, like our loyal followers and whatnot, really great response for the new songs. And honestly, we feel personally that, and this is how you should be feeling, right? When you got new music coming out, is that it's our best stuff yet. I think we've hit a different stride with these songs. I know personally for me, lyrically and vocally, I feel like I'm on I don't know, I've leveled up a little bit. And uh, I know lyrically I'm writing a lot more honest stuff these days, instead of looking at what I don't know, or maybe just a sugar-coated version of what I really wanted to say previously, whereas now I'm just being a lot more open and a lot more honest with myself and my writing. So I'm really proud of the lyrical content of these new songs, which has only got me more excited to write again now as well, because I love these songs so much and what they've brought out in me. And so I'm keen to get writing again, which isn't going to happen for a little while, but probably mid-year onwards we'll start writing again. But yeah, overall, really great response, and people are noticing. I think that we're just continuing to evolve as a band, so that's always nice.
And Bendigo getting a bit of a name for itself as well with Ironstone and Spacegoat now. It's good to see.
Yes, well, we're doing our best to represent the old the old Bendy. It's weird. It's a weird little place. Like there is definitely a place for metal here, but I think a lot of the musicians that do want to pursue heavier genres, they tend to move away, which is fair enough. But and I think our biggest downfall in Bendigo, we could be a bit more of a hub if it weren't for the fact that there really isn't a lot of venues for this style of music. In fact, we're really, really hard pressed. The Vine is pretty much it, which doesn't want, I don't want to discount places like Trash Cult, but Trash Cult is they do sort of a bit more like punk rock and that sort of thing. But it's a 50-person capacity, I think, 50 or
Oh,
60. So it's
yeah.
very, very small. And unfortunately, and they're amazing people and they do really good things for the alternative scene here in Bendigo too. But they've been going through the shit with council regulations and stuff like that. So they haven't been able to
Oh,
put on live music for I think nearly a year now, which has been hard. And yes, so we don't really have a lot of venues, which means that there's not a lot of places for people to play, which is really hard to keep the momentum going, right? So, yeah, there's not too many actual metal bands like you listed off us and Ironstone. We've got Die in a Dream, we've got Abreact, we've got No Hope. Um, Sleeping Giant, Dog. These are all sort of bands that but it's pretty slim picking. And I've
yeah.
got to say, when bands want to come and play in Bendigo, almost always they hit us up, and we're just like, we can't play every show.
Yeah.
Like, I had to turn down Black Reno because we were already
Oh,
playing. I
I
know.
love Black Rhino. I can imagine that would have been hard to
Yes.
turn down.
But we already had a show booked like a week or two before in Bendigo, and I was just like, we just can't.
No.
We wouldn't be a pull for them anyway, which is obviously why they want to put a local on, right? So yeah, Bendigo's a hard little spot, but we'll just keep chipping away at it.
Yeah, it's sort of similar down here too in Gippsland. Like now that the deck is not open. Oh, sorry. Whoop, edit. Oh, not the deck. Sorry. Arcadia's not open. Well, technically I was right because the deck did close for a while, but it's now reopened. Now that Arcadia's closed in Traralgon, there really is only the deck in Traralgon.
Yeah.
And look, for me, it's only 45 minutes. Well, probably not even that. But like I was talking to a couple of people out of Common Evil and also Steve from Atlas, and they were just saying to try and get people or bands to come from Melbourne to Traralgon to play live music, most of them won't even travel further than say Dandenong, and which is sad.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, we have got some talent in this region. I mean, yeah, Atlas, Common Evil, Mirrors. alone, Ocean Sleeper, Excuse for an Exit, there's enough there. It's just,
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a massive list that you just listed off. But
uh,
yeah, I, I get it. I get it. I don't know. There's something about, and this is again just going back to like, making it about me and my festival. Like, um, I kind of took a build it and they will come approach with ticked off. And so I really did take a punt, like as much as everyone has said to me, which is so lovely and whatnot, that, the lineup that I've put together is incredible. And, of course it's going to be a success and da da da. It's like it is still a punt and just hoping that you will be able to pull the attendance because just because people look at it and go, hell yeah, that's a great lineup, doesn't mean they're going to make the effort to actually get out of their houses and buy their ticket and whatever. So I've been really, really stoked with the response in ticket sales. Um, I think the thing that's really blown my mind the most is the fact that there's so many out of towner ticket purchases. So when I set up the ticketing, I made it so that people had to put their postcode in when they check out because I would like to try and score a grant of some description to run this next year. And I sort of thought to myself, if I can prove that I can bring in people from outside of Bendigo, it's good for Bendigo tourism and da da da. So if I hit up council, I can say, look at all the out of towners I bought in. And I wasn't really expecting that many, but holy crap, there's like more than there is Bendigo, I think. But I also expect, and from my previous experience running shows in Bendigo, is that I just expect Bendigo people just roll up and pay on the door on the day. That's just what they do. It's just what they don't care if they have to pay a $5 or $10 extra. They just I don't know, they just pay on the door.
there's
So
another point that I could bring up. A lot of people just, and I won't go too much into it, but a lot of people say, I'll just turn up for doors. I'm like, yep. And what if there's no tickets on the doors? You're not going to get a guest
yeah.
spot.
Well, that's their own bad luck, but I think that's a successful show if you've got to turn people away.
Mm,
Um, and that's the risk that they run. I think what people don't realize these days is that the pre-sales really matter in terms of knowing what to expect and whether or not you're going because again going back to the money thing, which I hate bringing into it, but the costs involved in putting on shows, the costs, the Vine, giving up their lunch and dinner time profit for me to put this show on. I I want to be able to sell as many tickets as possible for that to be worth it for them too, because like I don't want them to be in the shit. It's about the promoters and the venues sort of looking after each other and sort of building it up together. Because if I don't sell enough tickets, they lose out, I lose out, the bands lose out. Like, so it's really helps when people pre-buy their tickets so that we know that everyone's sort of safe.
yeah.
Everyone's like, this is going to work out for us. It's not going to be a big flop, and we're not like losing money and that sort of thing. So, I know people like to just hold off, but it really does help when you pre-buy your tickets.
Well, my theory of pre-buying tickets is if you buy it once they go on sale, okay, you might be out of pocket for that week, but then if it gets sold out down the track, you're just like, well, I don't have to worry about it because I have a ticket.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And like the tickets are, like I said, they're $18,
Yeah,
like so you're not gonna put you out that much this week,
mm,
But yeah, I can't complain. The ticket sales are going really well for ticked off, so I'm happy, really happy.
um,
I'd like to see it go ham in the last week, which I don't know, I have a feeling that there might be a few ramp up in the last week, and I hope so. I'd love to say that we sold this thing out, but we'll
yeah.
see.
Well, 70% in the first festival's very good.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm completely mind blown. And like every time I see the ticket sale come through, I'm like, what postcode is that? And I'm like, oh my God, they're not from Bendigo. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. There's a lot of sales coming out of Albury Wodonga. So that tells me that Archangel and Transstate are, they're bringing people from there, which is amazing. Um, and yeah, various spots around Melbourne and Geelong, Ballarat. So I could not be happier, honestly. It's
Well,
going to be such a party. I can't wait.
and I'm not gonna. I'll be there on the Friday night, but I won't be there the Saturday.
Yeah, well, that's good. At least you get to see, you get a taste of some of it.
Yeah. Well, sort of looking at the lineup, it's sort of like I'm getting a taste of it before the actual day with Archangel next Wednesday, Druid tonight, and then the three
Yeah,
on Friday night. So it's like it's almost half the lineup before next week.
that's right. You're just doing sideshows, man.
Yeah.
I was really excited when I got to I got to do like play sideshow with Alienist and that. I thought I could just put it on as a normal gig, or I could be like, oh, it's a ticked off sideshow. Make it seem real legit. Yeah, yep.
I'd just completely forgotten that Druid and Archangel were on ticked off. That's how out of. I was looking at like the Alienist, the Where the Devils, Orpheus. I'm like, oh yeah, dude, Druid and Archangel are actually on that lineup.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Well, I can't believe that all of these bands said yes to me. Just saying, every day I look at my poster and I've got one just up there. I can't believe all of these bands said yes. Especially so, I did tell this story on my show when I was interviewing Chris last week. But when so I had my short list, and then there was well, I had the list of bands I definitely wanted to ask. Then there was a bit of a short list, and then there was a backup kind of list. And so everyone that's on the lineup now is bands that I originally wanted. So that's amazing. But I had originally chosen for Alienist to be the main support, and there was only going to be one main support. And I emailed them, and they took like 3 weeks to get back to me. And I was just like, oh, the deadline's sort of creeping in. I really need to make a decision. And I knew I was going to ask Transstate to play, but I sort of hadn't asked them yet, because I was like, if Alienists don't come through, then I want them in that main support spot. It's like playing a Rubik's Cube, like organizing a show lineup, even the small ones, and so by 3 weeks I was just like, Alienists probably don't want to come down and play shitty little Bendigo, so they've probably just not answered me because they don't want to, be impolite and say no or whatever. So I was like, it was worth a try,
Yeah.
So then I hit up Transstate. They were pretty much within hours got back to me and said, hell yeah, we're in. So I'm like, cool, there's my main support right there. And then, do you believe it or not, fucking Alienist messaged me back the next day.
Oh no.
And they were like, sounds like a great time, we're in. And I'm like, okay, well, let's make 2 main supports.
Oh, I could see that being something that would have happened. It always happens when you message one person.
I even said it as a joke to my husband. I was like, what's the bet now that I've got an answer from Transstate that Alienist will get back to me and say that they're keen? And it's exactly what happened. But anyway, it worked out great. Now I've just piled an extra band on, so it was fine.
Well, and Alienists get to headline the Friday night, and they're the second main support to Orpheus on the Saturday. So
exactly, yeah. Oh, it's going to be amazing. I can't wait to be amongst it.
Oh, no, don't pull sickies, Sam. It's probably not for 3 shifts anyway. I don't think that.
I hope no one at your work watches your podcast, so you can't see.
They probably do, but they've never said anything. So.
Like, Sam's not sick. He was talking to that Ez girl, and he said he was going to call us.
Oh, damn, I wish I was on, because I actually was summoned for jury duty. I'm like, that might be my way out of work for ticked off, and then they said you've been deferred till June. I'm like, damn.
Jury duty is always a pain in the ass.
I knew it was going to be deferred. I was sort of, because then I thought they might not put me on because the time frame would have been from Wednesday until the 14th during the day. I'm like, oh, maybe I could get away with ticked off and then deferred. I'm like,
That's all right. We'll party on the Friday, man. It'll be
yeah.
fine.
No, Workers Club. I haven't been to a Workers Club. I think the last time I was there was when Heists and Stepson played. And
Yep.
that's it will be 12 months ago.
Oh, there you go. Oh, we'll have to have like roll out the red carpet for you then.
Yes.
Sam returns to the Workers.
Yeah,
It's one of my favorite venues. I really like it.
very easy to get to. Like,
Yeah.
the tram stops literally 5 meters from where the venue is, or maybe more than
Yeah.
5 meters.
And I love the stage. I love the size of the room's really good. Like you don't have to fill it for it to feel like a big, like you've got a decent amount of people. It's a good little vibe. I like it. And they always I've never put on a show there before until now, but Spacegoat have played there a few times and always get looked after, and it's always a nice time. And I like how they've got those blocks at the front of the stage. As a vocalist, it's really fun to be able to like just step out a little bit further into but yeah, you're still up high, but you get to come out amongst people a little bit, which is good.
Good beer garden too. I went out to that one last time I was there. I didn't even realise there was a beer garden at the Workers
I know it's
Club.
tucked away. You got to find it. You got to go down the little labyrinth to get to it. But yeah, it's a good spot.
Because it was getting a bit too, like, I don't mind moshing in the wall of death and two-stepping and all that, but it was getting a bit crazy during steps. So I'm like, might just go out. And it was a hot night as well, so it's like, I don't want to be stuffy and, people jumping around and doing all that, and just like, I'll just go outside.
Yeah.
Could hear it perfectly anyway, because where I was singing was literally next to where the band was on stage. Like, the sound was that loud.
Yeah, nice.
And look, I love Stepson, but I have seen them before, so it wasn't as if I hadn't seen them. And
yeah, oh man, there's been a few times where I've had to exit stage left just because, like, I don't want to get kicked in the head. I love watching you guys go off, and that's fine, but I really don't want my jaw broken.
No. Look, I don't look if they're not doing it deliberately. If it's just a bit of fun and they're moshing and carrying on and all that, that's fine. But if they're directly going after people, then just piss off. We don't want those sorts of people at shows, or that's just my take on it.
I know, I agree, but I find just from my own observations that those people get ejected pretty quickly. That's another thing I love about metalheads is we're pretty like sensible in terms of looking after one another, and if there is a dickhead, they tend to get outed pretty quickly.
I have seen a couple of examples, but yeah, it doesn't happen very often.
No, not very often. Sometimes you just got to be aware of your space and be aware of where you can, saunter off to if you need to get out of the line of fire.
Well, last chance, there's one thing I'm not a big, because there's not much room at last chance to sort of exit.
Yes, that's right.
Like with Bergie, Stay Gold, even Bendy, there's enough room to just manoeuvre out of the way. Even at a packed show at Stay Gold, you can sort of just manoeuvre yourself away from it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, because they've got the stairs, it's sort of tiered a little bit as well. So you can, just jump up those little stairs and get out of the way
I've seen some crazy stuff at Stay Gold, but never ever felt uncomfortable. I'd never thought I'd see Emmy Mac from Red Hook in a inflatable pool moshing. That only sounds like something Red Hook would do.
It's such actually, Stay Gold would have to be one of my favorite venues as well to play at and to see shows at. I saw While She Sleeps there a couple of years ago and got to stage dive off the stage. And it's like, and then the next time I saw them, they played at the Forum. So it's like that opportunity will never come around again.
No.
They've surpassed the old Stay Gold. I feel really, really fortunate that I got to see them in that venue and to just be so amongst it.
No, that was an insane show at Forum. Except for lining up in the wrong lineup to get in. That was pretty funny of Sam. It's like, Jaden from Outlove goes, because he was there with Ocean Sleeper, he's like, did you have any trouble getting in? I'm like, I didn't have any trouble getting in when I knew which line I was meant to be in.
I did the same thing when I was put on the door for, I think it was Hailstorm, when I was doing some work with Heavy Magazine, and didn't realize that I didn't have to line up with all the plebs, and I could go in like a different door that had no line, and the fucking lineup for that show was all the way around the block.
Oh,
And I was like, I'm on the door, and they're like, yeah, so you need to go over there, and I'm like,
okay.
that entrance where there is not a single person lined up. Are you telling me I stood here for like an hour
Oh
and I
no.
could have VIP'd my way in? Yeah. So I completely understand. I'm that idiot as well.
And the funny thing, similar to that, is in my lineup where you go in as a door spot. There was literally one person in front of me. It's
Mm,
like
no, I understand. I've done it before too.
enough
Oh well.
about Sam's embarrassing stories. Far out, an hour and
Sam
a
and Ez
half.
just bumbling their way through shit. Yeah.
All right. Well,
What you got for me next?
I've only really got two more questions because I'm looking at how long this interview is already, and I'm like, wow,
That's
has
all
it
right.
been
We've
that long?
covered heaps of shit. It's great. I
Um,
like a flow state interview. It's good. I think the listeners do too. I think that listeners prefer like that flow state. At least that's the feedback I've always got from my interviews. And might I add, it's really nice being on the other end of the interview, mic, I suppose, for once. It's nice being interviewed instead of being the interviewee.
I've got to
I get to
get
talk about myself.
interviewed. I talked to Chris from Storm the Crown because he's now got that killer tube with the reaction videos and setting up interviews because he interviewed Ned from Red Hook a couple of
Mhm.
weeks ago, and I'd said to him, "Hey, can I jump on?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah." And then I asked big things coming, and they're like, "If you come to Perth, we'll interview you." I'm like, "To Perth?" I mean, you've got WebEx, surely, on Zoom, and they're like, "Oh, we do it in the studio." I'm like, yeah, I'll
That's
just
pretty
follow.
cool. That's pretty cool though. I'd love to be able to do some in studio. The times that I have been able to have bands in person with me, it's so different, and it is good fun. It is good for, especially on the radio where I can have them in and like, from start to finish and play songs in between chatting and stuff like that.
Mm,
I would love to have more bands in person, but it's not possible, and this is a great alternative. So
yeah. And okay, we're both in Victoria, but I shudder to think how far we are away in distance. But
yeah, a couple of hours.
yeah, I think it's 3 hours on a good trek from Warragul to Bendigo, so it is
Yeah,
quite
that
a.
sounds about right.
But I'm not going to whinge because yeah, there's a lot of bands that have members that live further away in Victoria than I
Yeah,
do from
absolutely.
Melbourne or Bendigo. So yeah, let's.
Yeah, we all do what we have to do to make it work, eh?
So the last two questions, funnily enough, are about Heretic Frequency and that ticked off, funnily enough. So
Hmm.
with Heretic Frequency, what made you first want to have your own radio show and support local bands?
Well, Heretic Frequency actually found me. I didn't go looking for it. And I need to give credit where it's due to Brett, who runs. He's also got a show at Phoenix FM. He does live music Bendigo and the Aussie Trove show. Pardon me. And so he had not long started doing his shows, and we had connected through music. I think he'd come and seen Spacegoat play a few times, and so he'd played Spacegoat on his show a couple of times, and we became Facebook friends and whatnot. And a couple of years ago, I quit my long-term career as a veterinary nurse. I'd been doing that for about 20 years, and I found myself a little bit sort of lost and not knowing what to do with myself and what I should spend my time doing, et cetera, et cetera. And I got into a big depressive doldrums and put a big sad woe is me post on Facebook. And he replied to me and asked if he could talk to me on the phone. And I was like, oh, I don't know what this is about. But anyway, and he sort of said, would you consider doing a show on the station, do a metal thing? And basically it just sort of snowballed from there. But when I think about this question, even though I didn't go seeking out to start Heretic Frequency, um, and it's sort of like I mentioned sort of earlier, I also didn't seek out to start doing it to specifically promote local bands, but that's just sort of how, I guess that's where my passion lay. So that's what it started just to become organically. But looking back a lot further, when I was in high school, um, I was very uh, immersed in the local music scene here in Bendigo. And I'm talking 15, 16 years old. And I saw these bands that were playing around town and it was probably just me being naive and a little bit of a weird kid, just loving heavy music. And I would see these bands that would play around town. And to me, they were rock stars. To me, they were just as big as, and I was really heavy into the punk rock sort of genre back then too. And so, seeing a band like, there's an old band from Bendigo called Cheese Excursion. They were like a punk ska kind of band. I saw them as equal to like Blink 182 in my eyes. They were just as important and as big and as, exciting. And so I used to get amongst the local scene all the way back then. And I started a website called the Bendigo Bands website, and it had a forum that ended up taking a life of its own, and I had to walk away from because it became a very toxic little place. And
Oh.
anyone in the early 2000s that knows the Bendigo Bands forum, I don't know if I should be admitting to being the person behind starting that.
Oh.
But anyway, what it was I just felt so passionate about these bands that were coming out of our local area that I wanted to create a hub for where people could find information about them. So each band had a profile, and there was a gig guide section where you could see where these bands were playing and whatnot. So I guess without even trying, I was doing it back then. And I guess I've just sort of, the universe has allowed me to pick up where I left off. All those years ago. And for reasons I won't get into because we'll be here for another 2.5 hours, I didn't pursue music in the way that I wish I had of back then. I guess I listened to too many opinions and doubted my abilities. So I just kind of put all of that on the back burner, and I focused on a career, and I just ran the rat race. And I was in bands and stuff myself back then, but nothing too serious. And it wasn't until sort of, in the last 10 years, I've really started to pick up becoming a musician again and really focusing on it in a different way and believing in myself. So I think, it was all just it just sort of happened organically, because without sounding like a complete wanker, it was meant to. It's sort of, part of this doesn't feel like my choice, is just what I was destined to do. And it might not be a big world-changing thing, but it definitely gives me purpose. And I love being able to share with whoever the fuck will listen to me. Because sometimes it does feel like screaming into the void, like trying to promote all these bands and stuff. And I'm sure you understand that as well. Is anyone actually paying attention? Is anyone picking up what I'm putting down? But there definitely is. And I think we also forget from time to time that for every one person that interacts back with you and thanks you or tells you that they listened or that they discovered a new band through you or whatever, for every one of those people, there's probably 3 or 4 in the background that will never actually reach out to you and tell you that they're listening or whatever. But they're out there. They are. I've found this by accident. That I've got people listening that I thought, I've got double the amount of listeners that I thought I had or whatever. So yeah. I don't know. Was that a weird way to wrap that up?
And it sounds like it was meant to be that you got into community radio ads because what you said.
I think so.
Yeah, and I think from someone who's no longer in community radio but had done it for so long, I just felt, yes, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I don't like hearing my own voice, but when I used to do radio, I was just sort of like, if people can understand what I'm saying and what I'm getting across, who cares what my voice sounds like? If I'm enjoying it, you just get used to it.
That's right. It's the content that matters. I mean, obviously being a good presenter helps, but if you're putting out content and you're putting it out through, genuine passion, people pick up on that. They pick up on that. It doesn't have to be polished, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be, if it's real, people will gravitate to real.
And like a lot of the, what you were saying about the one person is tuned into it, there'd be three or four. I think that's the perfect example of radio in a nutshell, because you don't know how many people could be listening. Yes, there
Yep.
might be one or two, but there could be 10 times that, 15 times that. There could be 30, 40 people tuned in to this band that you've played, whether it's, let's example, Fold Hill or Orpheus Omega, and they hadn't heard of them before.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. Yep, and that's exactly why I do it. And I will never pretend that I set out to I've started Heretic Frequency and I'm gonna become this and I'm gonna get all these bands heard or whatever. I just started doing what I liked. And what I like is local bands who are accessible to me, who I don't have to wait through 2-3 years for them to tour, come back to Australia or whatever. Archangel, great example. Like it's going to an Archangel show at the moment. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, like take your pick there. And that's a great problem to have, in my opinion. Like I don't have to spend hundreds of dollars on a ticket, to see these bands. To me, they're worth my while, and I kind of wanted to help other people see that that's a thing.
Mm. No, they're a perfect. I don't think there's a better example at the moment than Archangel in the
Yeah,
scene.
you want to see an Archangel show? They're
Take
playing
your
every
pick.
weekend. Yeah,
They're
yeah,
playing in
it's good though.
Victoria twice in
And
3 days. I mean,
and that's because opportunities are arising for them, and they're grabbing them by the throat, basically. And like I said, I'm watching them like just go ham at like just taking these opportunities and enjoying every second of it. And I think that's what I love the most, is I know that they are genuinely grateful for those opportunities, and they're having fun. And there's no dumb egos attached to it either. They're just, I've had conversations with the boys, and they're like, we don't care where we play on a lineup, who we play with. We just want to have fun and meet really good people, and play our music to the world, and that's exactly sort of the vibe that I aim for with the people I work with, and what I do, and myself as a musician as well. I don't care if I'm playing in a room to 2 people, or if we get lucky and we've got 200 in there. It doesn't matter to me, and it doesn't matter if we play first on a bill, or we're last, or with this or with that. I just like playing my songs.
so if you're wondering why I'm flicking away things, there's a bloody fly in my unit at the moment, and it's annoying the
That's
hell
okay.
out of me. So if anyone watches this video back and sees Sam going like that through it. Uh, but that's the vibe to have. And also, the other factor is those two people, if you play to a show with like 5, 10, 15 people, you got to realize they could have been anywhere else on that night. And if they're at your
100%.
show, that's
100%.
that's special. Like,
Yep. And you owe it to those 2 people to, in my case, sing my guts out, or shred your fingers off, or, whatever. Like, yeah. I think it doesn't matter where you perform or who you're performing to. You should treat it like a stadium show regardless.
mm.
That's my take on it anyway.
And yeah, I mean, I have been to a couple of shows where it's literally been 5 people, and yeah, it's just felt like an intimate show.
We were talking recently when we went to Albury for ArcFest, which was a couple of weeks ago. It was the first time we'd been to Albury in like 5 or 6 years. I think the last time we traveled there was pre-COVID. So we were really excited to be going back. And ArcFest was an amazing time. But we kind of laughed because the first show we did in Albury, we played to pretty much an empty room. I think it was the other bands and maybe 2 or 3 people. and 2 or 3 actual punters. But we still to this day talk about that Albury trip because we had so much fun, not just the performance, but like the trip getting there, all the shenanigans that were happening, like pre and post show, and like the bands that we played with were awesome people. We made friends. It was just like, it was, some bands might turn around and go, oh, it was a flop because, we only played to 3 people. We, like I said, we still talk about it because we had so much fun. It shouldn't always be like, cool. Yeah. If you had a great performance, that's awesome. If you had a great turnout, awesome. But it shouldn't always be about that either.
No.
It should be, I don't know, just the accumulation of everything, being with your best mates, playing the songs that you wrote and performing the songs that you wrote. Like performing to me is like, writing is one thing. It's definitely a very cathartic experience, but it can also be a really like arduous experience trying to pull this stuff out of you or turn it into, it's like, have something, a vision, a sound in your head, and you've got to try and, turn it into something that not just you want to listen to and you want to perform, but that other people want to listen to and see being performed. But when a song is finally written and I can perform and portray that emotion or that message on stage, that's everything to me. That's why I do what I do. I will always write and sing music, but being on stage is really where it's at for me.
No. If you haven't seen Spacegoat, check them out. Check them out at TIC'D Off if you're going
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, I was going to say, next up, TIC'D Off.
It's a while. I have seen Spacegoat. It's a while though. I'm trying to think. So last year or the year before I saw Spacegoat.
I don't know. We haven't gotten out of Bendigo a lot
No.
lately, so that's probably why. Um, we're trying to
Yeah.
like ditch the Bendigo anchor. But everyone wants, like I said, there's more and more bands, and it's really cool. It's not a bad problem to have that more bands want to come to Bendigo, and I have noticed an increase in bands being interested in doing more regional areas. That has definitely ramped up in the
Yeah.
last like year or two, which is amazing. Like, yes, bring shows to regional areas. Like, and the feedback that I'm getting from bands too is that they playing regional is so much of a different vibe. The crowds are a bit different. Even this might be a little controversial to say, but I would even go as far as to say that like bands that come from regional areas, this is a conversation I had recently, I think maybe with the Archangel Boys, is that they're just funnier. They're
Oh,
just
yeah.
regional
I could,
bands. I,
yeah.
I I don't know if it's a country kid thing where we just like have a bit of a don't give a fuck
Yeah.
kind of I don't know, just and perhaps like because these are just all theories
Yeah.
that I have, but perhaps because there are less bands and less venues, there is less competition, and we're all a bit more like muck about, get in there and not have to like um, compete against each other. And I know that again in the heavy music scene, there's most people are trying to lift each other up and look after each other, and bands and whatnot are sort of supporting one another. But there are cliques, and I do see it happen more in cities than it does in regional areas. And I don't know. I just find anytime I fuck with bands that are from regional areas, they're just so much like sillier and more fun, and there's a lot more banter. Like I do think it was from the ArcFest chat actually that we had with all the musicians in it leading up to the show. There was just a lot of silly meme sharing and dumb banter and jokes, and I was just like, you don't get this from city bands as much. Like,
No.
I'm not saying they're not funny people and they're not cool people or whatever, but there's just this element like people from the country are just kind of I don't know, just a bit looser maybe. I don't know, but there's just a little tangent that I went off on then, but I think we're funnier. Country people are funnier, just saying.
Well, I could agree to that because technically Warrigal's not Melbourne. It's getting
No,
close to being a suburb of Melbourne, but it actually isn't.
well, that's just because Melbourne's just like expanding, expanding,
Mm,
expanding. So
Yeah.
Mm.
No, but everyone thinks I'm from Melbourne because they're like, oh, you get to Melbourne so often and to these gigs. I'm like, I'm not from Melbourne. I'm from regional. Been
Yeah.
regional boy for 35 years of my life, so
And I think like I have been asked that question a few times too of like, would you ever consider moving to the city or closer to the city so that you can be more amongst it? I really like it here. And look, yeah, it can be tiring sometimes, the travel, but it's not that unachievable,
no.
to travel 2 hours up the road to get to Melbourne. So, um, I won't be shifting anytime soon.
Nah. Well, the beauty of not driving and living in regional Victoria is the reason I find a lot of these bands is there's nothing to do on the train because 9 times out of 10 I'm going on my own. That's where I get to listen to like 20, 30 songs each way easily.
Yeah, nice.
Sometimes
Nice.
more, depending whether it's a train and a bus or if the train's delayed. Like, yeah, I'd just sit back and just go, all right, I'll just check out what's on Spotify, what's on release radar, and that's generally where I listen to most of these music.
I'm gonna go into interviewer mode for a second. I've got a
Oh, I
question for
like that.
you. I've got a question for you. Who has like excited you lately? Who's one of your latest finds,
Oh,
like locally, that has got you kind of real excited?
$1 million question and the toughest
I
question.
know.
Far out. Okay, avoid everyone, all the big names or that have just made a
Yeah, just
big.
like a latest discovery. It doesn't have to be anyone
No.
huge or anything like that. Just what latest discovery have you stumbled across that you're like super pumped about?
I will actually add two into this, and one of them is a band we've been speaking about a lot, and love the guys. Archangel is one.
Hmm.
I hadn't heard of them before the EP dropped, and they're just going gangbusters. The
Yes.
the other one actually features a member from Vault Hill who we talked about earlier, but his other band, and that band is Body Prison.
Body
For those
prison.
that don't know, Frankie from Vault Hill is also the drummer in Body Prison. They've just blown up, Body.
Haven't they? Yeah. Yep. I saw I think Adro put up a story on Facebook this morning that they played last night. Was it
Yeah,
last night?
Graveyard, I think, in Sydney Road, I think it
Oh,
was.
yeah, that's a good little venue. We've played there once. I would love to get to some more shows there. I'd love to play there again. But yeah, I saw the Unicorn Pinata getting absolutely fucking hammered. That was great. That
Only
was
Body
great.
Prison show will do a
Yeah,
pinata.
yeah, yeah. Well,
That's
my like little gem that's like popped up on my radar lately that I'm excited about is a band called Brace from Ipswich, just going on like regional regional again. Don't know what's going on up in Ipswich, but doesn't look like a hell of a lot. And those guys are if you want some entertaining Instagram reels, then definitely go follow Brace. Even if you don't like their tunes, I feel like you should just like follow them for their content. But yeah, they're
yeah.
my pick lately. I'm excited about those guys, and I'd love to get them down here to play some shows.
I'll tell you what, Queensland's something's in the water in Queensland, like Newcastle at the moment. Everything
Oh,
that's coming out of
we cannot start talking about
no,
Newcastle. Not at this point in our interview because we'll be here for
yeah,
another two
Sam would talk
hours.
about vilify and wear the devil for 2 hours if we start
Yeah.
talking about that. I know there are other bands from Newcastle outside of Where the Devil and Vilify. Obviously, OCD
There's
band,
so many. That's the thing. There's so many. Tellurian, Russian Novel.
Hate Scope.
Yeah, Cascade Effect. Oh, there's so many. There's so many. I don't know, like, yeah. My husband keeps telling me I need to go move up there if I'm going to move up. Move anywhere for a music scene. It needs to be there because that's where all the bands I love are coming out of. So,
Yeah. In Queensland, I mean, not just like Engraved and Disgust, Awake in Time, Revoid, Product of Neglect, Shokan, Zuko. There's just so much out of that state at the moment, it's not funny.
yeah, absolutely.
It's like Newcastle, well, they've had Trophy Eyes and Silverchair over the years. Just a couple of mediocre bands called
Yeah.
Silverchair and Trophy Eyes. What have they done over the last 30 years? Just kidding. If anyone's watching, obviously. But
Oh, don't start people on Silverchair. I've seen them popping up again on socials in the last day or two.
But I like that question, and that was actually the next thing I was going to ask, if Ez actually had anything, because it's that time of the interview. Well, Ez has already read the script and beat me to it.
I don't remember you asking me to pick a local band though. But yes, you know what? Can you put a Brace song on your I don't care which one. They did release something, I think Meek. Their latest single is Meek, I
I
think.
think it's definitely on my locals bands and artists playlist, along with a lot of other stuff.
Yeah. Well, I reckon they need to go on your next one
Oh,
amongst the Spacegoat songs.
is it Meek? I'm trying to think which one it is. Or is it Deliria? It might be Deliria, maybe. I'll have to look
Maybe.
through it.
They have been pumping out singles recently, so yeah.
Yeah,
Any of their songs though would be awesome.
it's a whole heap of new stuff. Like last week or so, new music from Aussie bands like Zuko, Void Matter, Ghost Seeker. There's been a whole heap drop in a week. And like, why is my playlist all full of new music? And then I look back and like, that's the reason why.
Yep, yep. Oh, I know. I'm starting to think of more now, and I'm just not going to do that to you. So
Oh man, but yeah, that thing. See how I can get the playlist or some of the audio into the YouTube channel, but I like the idea at the moment with the playlist separate to the episode, so you get a bit of both. But I'm trying to figure out maybe of a way, maybe putting in some live tracks or even a
Hmm.
snippet of a song somewhere in the future.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about projects like this is that you're in full control and you can do whatever you want and you can take it as slow or as fast as you want. You can chuck songs in, and if it doesn't work, then you just change it back up to the way it was and do whatever you want, man.
Yeah, and the main thing is I'm having fun with this. Is like everyone's like, "Do
Yes.
you care about the views?" I'm like, to some extent, yes, but it's more about am I enjoying what I'm doing and having fun.
100%. And like I said earlier, if you're enjoying it and you love it and it's real, people will gravitate to that. It may not happen super fast, but if do you know what? I honestly think a slow burn is almost a better way to go anyway. Things blowing up overnight, it looks really fun and attractive from the outside, but I don't know. I think it can be harder to maintain. I think a slow burn is good, and you'll attract the people that you want in your circle if you're just being real, genuine, and genuinely enjoying what you do. And I can say with great authority that you have a lot of respect in the local scenes around Melbourne, Victoria, and beyond. Like people love what you do, and you should be proud of what you do, Sam.
Yeah,
It really matters, and it really helps. And the bands do see what your hard work, and they do appreciate it.
and the last 5 years, I mean, I respect this guy immensely, and I mean, if it wasn't for that message Steve Canatelli put up a few years ago about respect bands and tell them you love them, you know, I took upon myself. I just said I'm just going to send one band a message. If I don't get a response, I know I've done my part. They
Hmm.
responded, and now I'm just like, nah. Steve Canatelli, for those who don't know, is a huge person in the scene, way bigger than me. Oh, I'm happy to admit that. I love Steve as a person and everything he does.
He's
Um,
very respected as a band coach. Like he really
yes,
helps bands, up their game basically.
and he just put it up there, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to follow this guy because Steve, as mentioned, very well respected band coach and person in the scene. And what he was putting up, this was during that damn C word too, so no worse a time than
Yeah.
COVID. And yeah, I just said, all right, I've got to do something about this because, and at that stage, a lot of my mates' bands were actually starting to, were about to perform shows, and then COVID, obviously.
Mm.
And it's sort of like, yeah, no, you got to make them feel good because if they're not getting the messages of love or support, they'll just might think, oh, well, what's the point of continuing on?
Absolutely, yeah. Every compliment helps, and every compliment, you know, solidifies why we do this. I think a lot of bands would give you the answer that, like, well, if they didn't have a single person watching or listening, they'd probably still do it because, you know, music is part of who we are. And I mean, I know I personally don't feel like I have a choice. Like I feel like that's just what was built in my makeup when this human form, you know, became a thing.
Yeah.
Just music is just part of me, whether I like it or not. And I would do it regardless of whether there was anyone listening. But when you do decide to put yourself out there in a band, then you do hope someone's listening.
Mm.
And every single one of those messages or comments or tags, or, you know, like I love seeing the day after a show, you know, I love jumping on Instagram and seeing if anyone's tagged us in a reel or a story or whatever. It's such a buzz. And it's like to think a person that I have no idea who they are, they enjoyed it enough to share that, you know.
Yeah.
So it means everything. Like even if we can't get around to thanking every single person, which we do try,
Mm.
it definitely doesn't go unnoticed when someone shares or likes or comments or, you know, tags us or, you know, reaches out via a message. Yeah, it all helps.
And I think the important thing is that 9 times out of 10, I do get a response, but if I don't get a response, I still know that even though they might not have responded, I've done my part.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes a non-response is literally just, and I can tell you, I do this, I do this with just people in my life. If I open a message, but I don't have time to reply to it properly, my brain says, you open the message, it's dealt with. And then it disappears into the ether and I forget all about it. So I now don't open messages that I know I can't reply to, because if I see it unread, then I know I'll get to it eventually. But if I open a message and I'm like, oh shit, that's gonna, I want to reply to this properly. Again, another conversation I was having with Chris from Morpheus, we were like, we don't like not being able to give a response the time that it deserves. Like, I don't want to just give a shitty, like, thanks, thumbs up, you know, kind of response. I want to give a proper, well thought out, you know, from the heart response. So yeah, I don't open messages now unless I can answer them because I just don't. Yeah, I get bombarded with messages for all sorts of reasons, and I wish it was because like, you know, just tons of Space Goat fans just like hammering my inbox, but that's not the case. It's more people like going, can you do such and such for me? It's just people asking me to do shit for them. That's all it is.
Oh. Oh.
Anyway.
You know what I don't like about this job is
Mm,
when it has to end.
yeah. Yeah, I
The
feel that.
interview. I don't like when it has to end because I've
I
had
don't.
a. I mean,
I feel like we've only just touched, like, skimmed the surface, man. Like, I know there were questions on your list that we haven't gone now.
but I feel like we've covered so much stuff in this interview, like with Heretic Frequency ticked off, which is important because Heretic Frequency is Tuesday night,
Yes.
and ticked off is literally, well, it will have started this time next week, probably.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it'll be well and truly. It doors open at 12 and it kicks off at 12:20, just to be
Okay.
really specific. So first band's at 12:20, and yeah, it'll be going through till midnight. So it's like proper festival length gig for
Yeah.
sure. And I'm being very. I mean, I don't know how well I'm gonna really pull it off, but I've got visions. Like, I can't get into the venue and like really mix things up just yet, but I've got a vision for how I want to lay the venue out. I want to do some things to make it feel more like a real festival instead of just any old pub gig, you know, with just a
Yeah.
bunch of extra bands chucked in. So it will have a festival vibe. And yeah, it's going to be a big day.
Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to Friday. I'll get to see a few of the bands on Ticked
Yes,
Off, and as mentioned, I'll get to see Druid and Archangel before
do
Ticked
their
Off.
thing.
Yeah. I actually really like Druid, and I think it's about the fourth time I've seen him tonight. I thought I'd only seen him once or twice, but then I go back and like, no, I've seen him like 3 or 4 times in the last 18 months, and yeah,
I'm so stoked to have them on Ticked because I have tried to line up gigs with them multiple times and it just hasn't worked out for whatever reason. Not they're not available or da da da. So it's great to finally have them on a show and this show of all
yes.
shows. So yeah. Yeah.
uh, but
I'm really happy about how excited the bands are about this show too. Like I feel like it's already a success if everyone that's playing it is super pumped and they all are. Like it's so exciting to see how excited they all are. So I feel like accomplished just in that.
Well, that's a very important thing if the bands are super keen to play it and excited, because
Yeah,
it will come across on stage, and yes, it's going to be something. Maybe
absolutely.
2026 if it goes ahead, I will go to Ticked Off.
Well, look, I don't want to promise anything, but there might already be plans in the
Oh,
in the
oh,
pipeline.
okay. Just dug
I've
yourself a
already
hole there, Sam.
I know. No, no, as in I mean that there will almost certainly be a 2026.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I already got bands hitting me up to play the next one. And I was like I've said to a few of them, um, I'm glad you have so much faith in me that you want to play at the next one when this one hasn't even happened yet. So I don't know if it's like gonna go off. Like I'm sure at this point in time, there's really like everything is going according to plan right now. So that's good.
That's a
That's
good
good.
start.
I'm not under any illusions that there won't be something pop up that needs like some emergency fixing before the day or on the day. But that's the nature of running a gig. So
Yeah.
is what it is.
All right. Well, as much as I'd love to sit here and chat for another 2.5 hours.
I know, but
uh,
this is the problem I have too as an interviewer. I always have trouble making sure that I stick to time because it's so easy to get
mm,
on a roll. Like I said, I know you did give me that list of questions. I know there's a few a few that we haven't touched on, but yeah,
uh, but
next time.
as from Spacegoat and Heretic Frequency, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'd have Spacegoat and Ez back on any time in the future.
We'll have to come back before the or when the EP is about to be released, which probably be the end of the year, I would say.
Or I might have to leave a space open for Spacegoat.
That's right. Please do.
That wasn't a pun either. The space. Yeah, anyway. Don't end on a pun, Sam. It's not a good look.
Please do. I'm all for a pun.
uh, but yeah, always a pleasure. As this will be up this
Likewise.
time tomorrow easily. If I didn't have a gig tonight, it would be up tonight probably. But
Nah, there's no rush for these things.
nah, and I don't really want to take my laptop on the train because that means I'd have to hold on to it at the gig. And Last
Yeah, no,
Chance doesn't really have anywhere you can store it. So
yeah, no, don't do that. Look, it looks like it looks like I have a ghost,
it's
but it's
like
actually my
paranormal activity or something.
hey, it's my dog that just keeps letting himself in
Ah.
and out and in and out. Pain in
uh,
the ass.
what's that? Ghost Stories or what's that TV show? Ghost Hunters or whatever it's called. It's like
Yeah,
that.
it's all right. I'm all for the ghosts.
Yeah.
They can come live in my house. That's a whole other
Yeah,
conversation.
we could get on to bands with Ghost in the title, but yeah, that's another long time. But this will be up tomorrow afternoon. The playlist will be up probably tomorrow evening, maybe sooner, depends.
Sick.
Yeah. And yeah, I will give you the link to the episode and share it, watch it back. I always watch my episodes back from start to finish. See where I
Yeah.
messed up something, or I don't know. It's just like at
It's
the
always good to listen back, and then you just like you hone in on your craft a lot more that way, I reckon.
I do feel like I might have made a boo boo at the start by saying it's episode 17 when it's actually 16, but
Meh. Who's counting?
yeah,
Only
well,
you, probably.
yeah, probably only me. Yes. So, well, enjoy the rest of your Saturday afternoon, Ez from
I will. Thank you
Spacegoat.
so much for having me on. It's always really cool to chat with you, whether it's on this or when we bump into each other at a gig. I think the last time we saw each other was actually at that While She
While
Sleeps
She
gig,
Sleeps
right?
show at the
Yeah.
forum, it was. Yep.
Yeah, hell yeah. Well, I'll get to see you and we'll rock out for OCD, Where the Devil, the City and
Alienist.
Alienist
Yeah.
on Friday night.
On Friday night, and
Hell
I've
yeah.
got to figure out how I'm getting home. Might have to catch a night bus. Oh, maybe not.
Oh,
I could probably stay at my brother's. I don't know. I'll figure something out. I'll have a way of working
I'm sure
around
you
it.
will.
Yeah. All right, Ez from Spacegoat Heretic Frequency. Absolute pleasure as always. And if I don't talk to you before Friday, I'll catch you on Friday.
See you then, my friends.
No worries. Catch you, Ez.
Bye-bye.
Bye.